What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to ship products easily into Amazon FBA. So if you're ready to ship your product into Amazon, you're wondering how to do it, I'm going to explain everything you need to know. I'm going to walk you through in Seller Central how to actually ship it in. And I'm also going to talk about some very important things to remember, because the shipping process has actually gotten a lot more complicated since I started on Amazon back in 2017. Amazon back then used to basically send all of your inventory into one fulfillment warehouse. It would tell you where to go. But now there's all these different options. So I'm going to go through those options. So step one is you do need an Amazon Seller Central account. If you don't have one, check out my how to set up your Seller Central account. I'm going to make that video on my Ecom Academy channel. Link for that is down below, where I host live mentorship calls every single Saturday that are completely free, and you can ask me any questions that you have. So once you have your Seller Central account up, you do need a product listing. So if you don't have a product listing yet, go watch my listing video. I made one on my channel here, and I'm also making one on the Ecom Academy channel as well. You can check that out. How to create a beautiful 10 out of 10 profitable listing. So let's say you have your Seller Central account, you got your listing. Right now, I got a sample test account open. It's just our test account at Ecom Academy. And this is a product that we used to sell. Right now, it's inactive. It's out of stock. So I'm just going to use it as an example. So what you're going to do is you're going to navigate on the left side here on Amazon Seller Central. You're going to go to Inventory, click Manage All Inventory, and it's going to bring you to this page right here. And so here we're going to click on Action, and we're going to click on Send and Replenish Inventory. And you want to make sure that your listing is already converted to Amazon FBA. If you created an Amazon listing, when you actually create the listing, it asks you whether you want Amazon to handle the shipping and fulfillment. If you selected that option properly, then it's automatically FBA, which gives it the Amazon Prime badge on the listing. If it's not FBA, you need to convert it to FBA. I'm going to make a video on that on the Ecom Academy channel, so you can check it out there. So once we're in here, we actually have our old supplier here from China. What you're going to do is you're going to select marketplace destination, so it's United States. You're going to have your product here, okay? And so here it's going to ask you how many boxes you want to send. So you need to get this information from your supplier. So in this case, I'm going to do a sample. Here it's set to 2 units per box. So I'm going to put in, let's just say as an example, 50 boxes, which is 100 units. We're going to click Ready to Send, okay? Then it's going to say total prep and labeling fees 0. And now it's going to take us to this page right here. And this is where it basically we have an option. This is actually the most complicated part of shipping your product now. So basically, you can either use Amazon's carrier, which is called Amazon Global Shipping or Global Fulfillment, and that costs a certain amount of money. Or you can use a non-partnered carrier. And with the non-partnered carrier, that's going to be most commonly what you want to use. We haven't really used Amazon's partnered carrier yet too often. So in the vast majority of cases, we're just going to use the non-partnered carrier. But what you want to do is you want to check the prices on both. So I'm going to show you that. So shipping date. We're going to say that the shipping date is tomorrow. And here's where Amazon gives us the option of either splitting our shipment into 5 shipments, which is going to be free. That's always going to be free, but you have to actually have your suppliers split the shipments into 5, so 20 units in each. If it's 100 units total, we're shipping $0, but then we have to ship it 1 to New York, 1 to LA, 1 to, I think that's Michigan, 1 to Kansas, and 1 to Utah, right? Then we have the 3 shipments option, which is the most common one. That's the most common that I use. It's the most common that we've seen is ends up being the cheapest, because what happens is that when you actually use your freight forwarder, and I'll talk about that in a second, you should have a freight forwarder to do this. When you use a freight forwarder to have your product shipped into Amazon, it actually costs more the more you split your shipment, right? Obviously, having all of your units go into one warehouse, ideally in California, let's say if it's from China, that's going to be the cheapest because it's the shortest distance. It's all going into one warehouse. But if you split your shipment into 5, now it's 5 separate shipments, and that's going to just inherently cost more. So you should get quotes from your freight forwarder for the different options. You have to give them the addresses of the fulfillment centers it's showing you, tell them the number of units. They'll tell you how much that's going to cost total. Give them the 3 shipment option as well, which is going to cost us $81. So usually this is the cheapest. This is the one that I recommend. And then there's also the 1 shipment, which is going to be more expensive, $340, but then you can send everything into 1 warehouse. However, the warehouse is in Alabama, but if we go to 3, 1 is in Canton, Ohio, 1 is in Utah, 1 is in, I think that's Missouri. So I guess it doesn't really make much of a difference. You know, this is all pretty much the Midwest. If you get lucky, you'll get like California, because that's the closest to China, and your shipping will be the cheapest. So for this video, we're going to do 3 shipments. And then for non-Amazon partnered carrier, we're going to select the shipping carrier. This information your freight forwarder will give you. So we'll do UPS, as you can see. And then how would they be transported? We're going to do ocean. Okay, it doesn't really make a difference to the ground as well because obviously it crosses the ocean and then it goes on the ground afterwards. But we're just going to select ocean for simplicity's sake. Here's the delivery window. So you can actually get this information from your supplier. So let's say it's going to get there in a month. So we'll just say the 20th, and it's going to automatically set a range. All right, so the 20th. And then it's going to ask you to accept the charges and confirm the shipping. Okay, so just to make it cheap, so I don't have to pay $81 right now, I'm going to select the carrier again. We're going to do UPS. It's going to be ocean. So now I got my box labels, and what box labels are, they're also called carton labels. These are the labels that go on the big boxes that contain multiples of your units, right? So in this case, for every single one of our pickleball sets, we have 2 units of pickleball sets in 1 carton. Okay, but let's say for your product, it can be 10 units per box per carton, and then there's basically 10 units in each individual packaging in 1 carton, right? So it just varies. It can be 8 in 1 carton or 16 in 1 carton or 32. Your supplier would have that information. They would tell you. You can just say, hey, how many units per carton? And they'll tell you that. But in this case, we have 2 units per carton. So that means that on every single box, right, you can see here, 10 boxes, 20 units, 24 units, 24 units, 16, 16. So that's how it's split it. So it wants 20 units in Castleton, New York. It wants 24 units in Carencro, Louisiana, 24 units in Livonia, 16 units in Utah, and 16 units in Kansas. So now I click on print, and now this is going to open up a PDF of the carton label. So every single one of these, so this square right here, this square right here, every single one of these goes on each individual carton. So you send these to your supplier. You can send them to this by email or whichever communication platform that you use, WeChat or WhatsApp. And then you basically have to explain to them, hey, listen, on 10 boxes, 20 units, these are the cartons. On 12 boxes, these are the carton labels, right? Same thing. And so on and so forth for all of our units. Most likely you're going to have Amazon split your shipment into 3 FBA warehouses. We've seen that usually comes out to be the cheapest in general for mostly everybody, but just go with the cheapest option. I'm going to make a whole other video on Amazon Global Logistics and on their, like if you want to actually use them as a freight forwarder. What a freight forwarder is a shipping agent. So they're actually a company that they basically organize your shipping from your Chinese supplier all the way to Amazon. And I'll put down a recommended freight forwarder down below in case that you don't have one. You can also use the supplier's freight forwarder, although I wouldn't recommend it. I did that like in my very early stages of Amazon FBA and my Amazon business. I would say that using a freight forwarder is by far the best. And basically that's the only other alternative you have other than using Amazon's forwarder, which I haven't really looked into a lot yet. But it seems that it's just more expensive. So far the quote's coming back. So I'll make another video on it though. But anyway, okay, so we send all the carton labels over to our supplier. So then we click on proceed to enter tracking details. All right. So now we have all of our box labels here and we can enter tracking ID. We don't have our tracking IDs yet. This is optional. So we can enter tracking ID later. You can also just get those updates from your freight forwarder as well. Now, if it's your first time creating an FBA shipment, Amazon will actually ask you if you're using a manufacturer barcode or an Amazon barcode for the product. And you should select Amazon barcode, and it's then going to download what's called an FNSKU. An FNSKU is Amazon's barcode. So the FNSKU is what you send to your supplier to attach on top of every individual unit box. So not the carton. The carton is the big box with a bunch of units in it, each in their individual boxes, and then FNSKU goes on every single individual unit's box, right? So FNSKUs go on every single unit, and carton labels go on every single carton. That's it. Those are the 2 most important barcodes that you have to worry about. Your supplier will do it for you. And by the time that it gets into your freight forwarder's hands, all of your barcodes, FNSKUs, and carton labels should be properly affixed, stickered onto your cartons and your units. And it has to be done in a way that makes it scannable by anybody working at Amazon in the warehouses, right? So if it's obstructed or, if it's just not printed on a high quality enough, like a sticker paper or something like that, then the person's not going to be able to scan it. And then your risk that your units are going to get lost in the warehouse. Okay. So you don't want that to happen. So just make sure that the FNSKU, you tell your supplier, FNSKU, the Amazon barcode for your product. It's kind of like Amazon's UPC for your product. And I'm going to make a whole other video on this topic as well. And then you tell your supplier to put the carton label on every single carton. Now let's talk about customs. So when your product actually gets into the United States, for example, you will have to pay customs. And your freight forwarder is going to ask you how much do you want to declare for customs purposes on your product. And I'm not going to recommend to put any specific number whatsoever. I'm just going to kind of say what I've seen people do in the space. Let's say if they're ordering $10,000 worth of product that they paid the supplier, they'll only declare like $3,000. Now technically that's not legal, but that is commonly done. And the next thing is that before your freight forwarder actually ships out your product, they're going to ask you about about customs information. So you want to provide them that customs information. You want to ask them how to save on customs fees, and they're going to tell you that. And also there's something called an HS code, and you can find an HS code table on Google for the US. Other countries have different customs codes. It's basically like a code for every single category of product, and that code determines the percentage that you pay. So usually the customs is not too high, so you should be fine. And then the last thing to really pay attention to is product insurance. So when you reach $10,000 in sales, if you're in the United States, Amazon's actually going to reach out to you with their best trusted insurance provider company. And if you're in Canada, I recommend using Zen Insurance. And that's something that you only need when you reach $10,000 in sales. You don't have to worry about that at the beginning. So that's how you ship your product easily into the Amazon warehouse. Honestly, it's not a complicated process, and I try to make it as simple as possible for you. Now, I know that Amazon can be complicated, and starting this business, you might have a lot of questions. So I recommend that you go on my Ecom Academy channel, subscribe to it. I actually do free live mentorship sessions, calls every single Saturday. You can ask me any questions that you have. You can also take my free Amazon FBA crash course, where I actually show you exactly how you can get started, either with starting your Amazon FBA business. I actually do product research in there and show you it's totally free, or how to get a full-time Amazon FBA remote job, or how to do Amazon consulting or start an e-commerce agency. All of those links are down below. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel. And on this channel, I'm going to be making a lot of like personal stuff and a lot of other online business content. Ecom Academy is going to be where I'm going to make all my e-commerce stuff. So thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.